Let's talk about the eyes for a moment. Those windows to the soul we often romanticize, but rarely study with intent. When a woman is hiding her desire for you, it's not always her voice that betrays her. It's her eyes. You see, the human face is a carefully crafted mask. We train ourselves to smile when we don't feel like it, to look neutral when we're boiling inside, to say I'm fine when we're not. But the eyes, they're notoriously hard to control. In psychology, this is known as leakage. Emotional leakage happens when suppressed feelings spill out through nonverbal cues, often without the person even realizing it. And the eyes are one of the most common places where this leakage happens. A woman may try to hide her feelings for you behind a poker face, behind disinterest, or even sarcasm. But the moment her gaze lingers just a second too long, or she looks away too quickly when your eyes meet, something slips. This isn't just guesswork. Neurologically, our pupils dilate when we look at something or someone we're attracted to. There's a physiological reaction to desire, to emotional investment, and it often plays out in those quiet moments of eye contact. If a woman keeps stealing glances when she thinks you're not looking, if she looks at you when you're speaking to someone else, or if her gaze softens when your guard is down, that's not random. That's in trust trying to tiptoe out from behind restraint. But here's where it gets more interesting. Women, especially those who have been emotionally hurt or conditioned to play it cool, will often overcorrect. They'll try not to make any eye contact at all. They'll keep their gaze fixed on their phone or on a random object, pretending you're invisible. But you'll notice, when you turn your back, they'll look. And when you look back quickly, their eyes dart away. That's not disinterest. That's someone battling between wanting to be seen and fearing exposure. This tension between concealment and craving is where most men get confused. You think she's cold, indifferent, or just not into you, but what's really happening is that she's protecting herself from vulnerability. The eyes are screaming the words her mouth is afraid to say. They're pleading for recognition without demanding attention. And once you start paying attention to this silent language, you begin to see women not just as confusing, but as layered, beautifully complex. The most powerful connections don't start with loud declarations. They start with moments, unspoken, delicate, and real. If you learn to read those moments, not just through logic, but through emotional presence, you'll begin to meet women where they truly are, not where their words pretend to be. Sometimes the truth isn't what's said out loud. It's what flickers across a gaze and disappears in a blink. Learn to see that flicker, and you'll never misread silence again. Let's talk about behavior, the kind that feels confusing on the surface but makes perfect sense when you dig deeper. One of the most overlooked signs that a woman is hiding her desire for you is how she overcompensates in her interactions with you. I want you to sit with that word for a second. Overcompensate. It's not about neutrality or disinterest. It's about a performance, a deliberate attempt to present the opposite of what she feels because the real feelings are just too vulnerable to admit. Think about it. When someone truly doesn't care, their energy is neutral. They're indifferent, unbothered, relaxed. But when a woman is hiding something, especially something as emotionally charged as desire, her actions become exaggerated. She might suddenly become overly sarcastic when talking to you. She might act dismissive, roll her eyes, or go out of her way to tease you, almost like a child pulling the hair of someone they secretly have a crush on. That kind of behavior isn't random, it's defensive. It's an emotional mask designed to protect her inner world. Now, here's the philosophical part of it. Human beings are deeply uncomfortable with emotional imbalance. When our feelings don't align with what we can express outwardly, we seek ways to regain control. For a woman who craves you but fears what that craving might mean, fear of rejection, fear of being misjudged, or fear of losing her sense of power, acting aloof or even a bit mean becomes a way to rebalance that inner conflict. It's a form of emotional regulation, but what's really happening beneath that tough exterior is emotional turmoil, because what she wants and what she's showing are completely misaligned. The irony is many men interpret this overcompensation as a red light, a sign to back off, but if you look closely, it's often a yellow light, caution yes, but not necessarily a stop. It means she's watching how you respond. She's testing whether you can see past the noise and meet her with grounded energy without being shaken or reactive. That doesn't mean you chase. It means you remain calmly present. You don't mirror her defenses, you soften the space so her real self feels safe enough to emerge. This kind of awareness is powerful. Most people only see the surface, but when you can read beneath the behavior, when you understand the psychology behind the posturing, you move differently. You're no longer thrown off by mixed signals or sudden coldness. You see the contradiction for what it is, emotional camouflage. And once you spot that, the next move isn't force, it's patience, presence, and a quiet confidence that says, I see you, even if you're not ready to be seen yet. Remember, desire doesn't always arrive in obvious packages. Sometimes it's wrapped in resistance. But if you learn to read resistance not as rejection, but as fear meeting interest, you won't just react, you'll lead. And the moment you can lead through that emotional fog, you become the kind of man she can't help but eventually move toward. There's something subtle that happens when a woman feels drawn to you but isn't ready to reveal it. She starts showing up in your world more than usual, but always with a veil of coincidence. You'll notice she just happens to be where you are, reaches out with small, seemingly meaningless messages, or reacts to your stories and posts more often than she used to. This isn't accidental. It's a quiet form of orbiting, a way of staying close without crossing the threshold of vulnerability. Now, let's unpack this. In psychology, this is what we call proximity seeking. It's a subconscious behavior rooted in attachment theory. People are drawn to those they feel emotionally connected to. But when there's fear around expressing that connection openly, the person will seek ways to feel close without feeling exposed. So instead of saying, I miss you, or I want to see you, she'll drop a comment, ask an unnecessary question, or show up in a space you frequent. Just enough to be noticed, not enough to be obvious. You have to understand that desire isn't always loud. It's often whispered through patterns, through presence. A woman hiding her attraction doesn't want to lose control. She wants to feel the connection, but on her terms. So she controls the frequency, the proximity, and most of all the narrative. Because in her mind, if she can convince herself, and you, that her presence is purely casual, then she doesn't have to face the vulnerability of wanting more. But here's the deeper truth. When someone is consistently in your orbit without ever being direct, they're telling you that something inside them is battling with what they feel. There's a desire, but it's tied up in fear. Fear of looking desperate, of breaking a personal code, or of giving power away. And when that fear is stronger than the desire, you won't get a confession. You'll get breadcrumbs, and breadcrumbs are still a trail if you know how to read them. The mistake many men make is they either ignore the signs entirely or they react too strongly, calling it out, pushing for clarity, or trying to force a response. But what's needed here is a kind of masculine restraint, a grounded awareness that doesn't chase but also doesn't overlook. You hold space, not because you're waiting on her, but because you understand timing. You allow the connection to unfold organically, without pressure, but with quiet clarity. Remember this, a woman's desire, when hidden, doesn't mean it's absent, it means it's cautious. And when you can remain centered, aware without being needy, receptive without being reactive, you create an emotional environment where her caution can dissolve. That's when you become more than just someone she wants to be around. You become someone she feels safe desiring. So the next time you notice her showing up in small ways, don't rush to conclusions. Just lean back, observe the pattern, and let your presence do the heavy lifting. Because sometimes the loudest message a woman will send is the one she never says, but keeps repeating in her silence. One of the most overlooked yet powerful signs that a woman is hiding her desire for you is emotional intensity, masked as indifference or even irritation. See, when a woman is drawn to you but feels conflicted about it, she won't always express it through warmth. Instead, you may notice moments where she seems unusually reactive, critical, or distant. And on the surface, it can be tempting to interpret that as disinterest. But that's only part of the story. What's really happening is this. When desire meets internal resistance, whether it's because of fear, pride, past trauma, or unspoken expectations, it creates emotional friction. That tension has to go somewhere, and often it shows up as emotional pushback. She might question your choices, give you mixed signals, or show signs of jealousy disguised as apathy. It's not that she doesn't feel anything, it's that she feels too much and doesn't know how to manage it. So she chooses control over vulnerability. This emotional contradiction is rooted in something we all experience to some degree, what psychologists call cognitive dissonance. It's that inner clash between wanting something and believing we shouldn't want it. And when those beliefs are strong, maybe she thinks she's not ready, or you're not her usual type, or that showing interest gives away her power, then the emotional reaction gets buried beneath a facade of detachment or irritation. But if you pay attention, you'll feel the heat behind it. And here's the interesting part. A woman who's truly indifferent won't give off any emotional charge. Her energy will feel neutral. But a woman who's trying to suppress her attraction will radiate a kind of tension. Her words might say, "I don't care," but her tone, her body language, even her timing says otherwise. She might tease you more sharply than usual, take subtle digs, or go cold after moments of connection. That inconsistency isn't a sign to chase. It's a sign to understand. Most men either retreat or react, but neither response gives you leverage. Instead, you need emotional discipline. You need to be the observer, not the reactor. When you can stay grounded in the face of mixed signals, you disarm the power struggle. You show her, without saying it, that you're not intimidated by her defenses and you're not dependent on her affection to validate your worth. And that's attractive in ways words can't express. Understand this. When a woman feels emotionally safe around you, not just physically safe, but psychologically and emotionally safe, her guard begins to lower naturally. She stops needing to pretend she doesn't care because she realizes you're not going to misuse her vulnerability. That's when hidden desire turns into visible connection. So, when you sense that push-pull energy from her, don't rush to fix it, and don't take it personally. Hold your frame. Stay present, because sometimes the sharpest resistance is just unspoken desire wrapped in armor. And the man who sees that clearly, who doesn't flinch in the face of contradiction, becomes the man she can't ignore. Another subtle but telling sign that a woman is hiding her desire for you is that she finds reasons to be near you without ever being obvious about it. She'll place herself in your orbit, linger just long enough for you to notice her, but never quite make the first move. This isn't random. It's a strategic and subconscious way of creating opportunity without risking rejection. See, we often think of attraction as bold or dramatic, but when desire is paired with vulnerability, it becomes nuanced. Women, especially those who value their emotional safety, don't always announce their interest directly. Instead, they use proximity as a form of silent communication. She might show up where she knows you'll be. She may initiate casual conversation just to feel out your vibe. She might accidentally bump into you more than once. These aren't coincidences. They're calculated chances, wrapped in casual moments. From a psychological standpoint, this behavior stems from the fundamental human desire for connection, but also from the fear of exposure. If she openly declares her interest, she risks rejection, misinterpretation, or losing her sense of power. But if she just places herself within your reach and you take the initiative, then she gets what she wants without compromising her emotional safety. It's also tied to the way women often approach courtship. In many cases, the woman will signal but leave the actual pursuit to you. That's not a lack of confidence, it's an invitation, a test even. She's asking, will you notice? Will you rise to the moment? Will you lead? Now, here's where a lot of men get it wrong. They ignore the moment because it's too subtle, or they expect her to make the same bold move they would. But a man who understands the psychology of attraction sees the difference between disinterest and discretion. He pays attention to patterns. Is she often around when she doesn't have to be? Does she find excuses to talk to you? Does her energy shift when you're near, even if her words don't reveal much? These are the clues. But here's the key. Don't mistake her subtlety for weakness. She's watching just as much as she's hoping. She's gauging your confidence, your awareness, and your ability to lead. If you can respond to those cues with grounded presence, not desperation, you create the safety she needs to move closer. This is where emotional intelligence matters. It's not just about noticing her presence. It's about reading the language she's not speaking. It's about showing that you're tuned in, not just to her appearance, but to her intention. So the next time you feel like a woman is just always around, look closer. She may not be chasing you, but she might be inviting you to lead. And sometimes the strongest form of desire isn't loud, it's quiet, calculated, and waiting for you to recognize it. The man who can read between the lines becomes the one who writes the next chapter. Another sign that a woman is craving you, but hiding it, is emotional inconsistency. This can be one of the most confusing experiences for men, but it's also one of the most telling. She might seem warm and open one day, only to appear distant and aloof the next. She might engage deeply in conversation, laugh at your jokes, linger in your presence, and then suddenly pull back or ignore your messages. And while it's tempting to label this as flakiness or disinterest, what's often happening beneath the surface is a deep internal conflict between desire and fear. Emotional inconsistency is rarely random. When a woman feels a strong attraction to a man, especially one she's not sure how to approach or whether he feels the same, it stirs a complex emotional response. She may want to be close to you, to explore that chemistry, but she also wants to protect herself. So she goes back and forth between engagement and retreat, openness and withdrawal. It's not a game, it's a defense mechanism. At the core of this inconsistency is a tug-of-war between vulnerability and control. On one hand, she wants to feel desired, seen, connected. On the other, she fears judgment, rejection, or losing control over her emotions. So she tests the waters, gets close enough to feel something, then pulls away to see how you react. It's her way of asking, are you safe? Are you consistent? Are you someone I can trust with this hidden part of me? Now, from your side, this can be frustrating, but the mistake many men make is reacting emotionally, becoming needy when she pulls away or indifferent when she comes close again. That sends a signal that you're just as unstable as the energy she's unsure about. The key is to maintain emotional steadiness. Show up with calm presence, not confusion. Respond to her warmly when she engages, but don't chase when she withdraws. Hold your ground. Let her feel that you are a steady space in the midst of her emotional storm. This is where maturity and emotional intelligence matter most, because the way you handle her inconsistency communicates more than words ever could. If you remain grounded, curious, and authentic, you demonstrate that you're not easily shaken, that your confidence isn't dependent on her validation, and that is deeply attractive to a woman who's struggling with her own emotional openness. You don't have to fix her, you don't have to call out her behavior, you just have to stay rooted in who you are. And in doing so, you give her the space to work through her feelings and come closer to you in her own time. Remember this. Inconsistency on the surface often points to intensity beneath. When a woman is emotionally inconsistent, it's not always because she doesn't care. It's often because she cares more than she's ready to admit.